Good evening, everybody from Cherry Blossom Arts. Thank you so much for joining us. This is the second instalment from the interview series, and I'd like you to welcome the wonderful Lyn Taylor. Hello, Lyn.
Hello, how are you?
Good, thank you. How are you, Lyn?
Good. I'm fine, thank you.
Well, we've invited Lyn along today, everybody, because she is a director. And I met Lyn this year, actually, when she was directing the wonderful Vagina Monologues, which I was lucky to be cast in. So thank you, Lyn, for that. That was very good fun.
And you were very good.
Well, thank you. It was a great show. It was a wonderful ensemble piece with some fantastic women involved. And it's continued my desires to do things like Cherry Blossom Arts, where I'm wanting to empower people, encourage people. And so this is where the interview series came from, to give our viewers an insight into different sides of the industry, whether they're amateur or professional, and to sort of encourage them that anybody can do it if they really want to. So Lyn, could you just tell us a little bit about yourself, please?
Okay, so I came from Northern Ireland originally, came over to train to be a teacher. I went to Newton Park, as it was in those days, in Bath. Ended up getting a job in Trowbridge. When I came over here, I left Belfast at a time when the Troubles were really quite bad. There was no theatre. I had never seen a play. I had never seen a musical. I did one play at school. I went to a girls' grammar school, and it was very academic.
Wow.
And the arts were not considered to be the thing you should be doing. So I did one play. We read plays, but we didn't act them. So in my first term at college, we had a reading week, which was when they did the interviews for the next year. And I obviously couldn't go home. And a friend invited me to come and stay with her in London, which I did. And we went to see Jesus Christ Superstar. So sort of was hooked from then. Had a few other friends who I would go up and stay with in London, and we'd go and see something. So I saw Early Days, Evita, say Jesus Christ Superstar, and a number of other things as well. I left college and got my first job in Trowbridge. My head teacher had reformed Trowbridge Amateur Operatic Society. And in my, the whole thing is, it's coincidence. It's being in the right place at the right time. So he said to me in my first term of teaching, there's a small part of a page, doesn't really do very much, but we haven't got anybody young enough to do it. Do you fancy coming along? And it was in Merry England. And I went along, and it was a little more than not very much.
Directors do that sometimes, don't they?
Absolutely, absolutely. And a few speaking lines, a bit of singing, not on my own, just chorus. And I was hooked. And from then on, so for a number of years, I was part of Trowbridge Operatic, and did mostly chorus. I got through that, got to know Trowbridge players a bit, really fancied doing a pantomime. So I auditioned with Trowbridge players because they did the pantomimes, and from that joined Trowbridge players as well. So for a while I was in the two groups and did pantomime and plays and musicals.
The dream.
Yeah, absolutely loved it. Absolutely. Got some great parts. Much more confident in plays than in musicals, doing principal parts,
Yeah.
interestingly. And then somebody said to me, do you fancy directing a pantomime? So I thought, I do quite fancy that. And that was the beginning of it. And basically, from there,
Yeah, it just
everything has followed.
It kind of does, doesn't it? Once you start doing something, you've dipped your toe in and you're like, okay, I've done that one, and I've done that one, because I direct as well. And it's been the last kind of couple of years where I've dipped my toe in and done things. And now it's like, yeah, okay. And I've got my own confidence with myself that I can achieve that for that group or for those people or even for myself now. So what would you say then to the viewers, to anybody who's like, well, I've never even stepped my toe into a theatre? What would you advise them from your experience if they want to get into directing, theatre directing particularly? What would you advise them to do?
Do it.
But how would you advise them to start? You know, what would your advice be to that?
So listen and watch to start with. See as many different directors working as you can. I think it's also interesting to see different companies working, because every company is different and works in a different way. I think it's important that you start with something that you're comfortable with as well. I think it's got to be something that you're passionate about. So a show that you love, or something that really catches your imagination. If you can get the opportunity to be an assistant director, that's often a useful step, and it's useful for the director as well to have somebody supporting them. So if you get the chance to be an assistant director, don't feel that you're in the way. Actually use the director and support the director as well. I think also just being in a show with a group is a great way in as well, because you find out how that group functions. I've since I've directed with those two main groups, the other groups that I've worked with, I've been asked to go and direct, which is lovely. It's really it makes you feel really good when somebody actually comes.
Everybody
comes to you and says,
don't they?
Because I mean, often you don't know what you're, the way you're coming across to other people. I always feel afterwards that the number of people who come up to me and say, I really enjoyed that show. And if people say to me that they really enjoyed being in the show, I feel like I've done a good job. I mean, it's important that the audience obviously appreciate it as well, but actually so much of what we do in drama is for the people who actually do it. And if they've enjoyed doing it, then I think that's really important as well.
No, absolutely. And that definitely happened in Vagina Monologues. It was a really quite a daunting project in lots of ways. It was a very exciting project in lots of ways, but there was this real sense. I remember coming to the show meet at the very beginning for anybody that was interested in auditioning, and there was just this beautiful energy in the room, and we were all in a circle and we talked a little bit about why we were there, and we got to sort of meet each other a little bit before we even made the decision about whether or not we wanted to do the project or audition for the project. And I came out of that and I was like, I am doing it. And I think I even messaged you and said, I don't even care if you cast me. I just wanted to help with the show, like whatever you need. And that was lovely. And I mean, I believe in that. And I also think that when you have that kind of that approach where people feel safe and comfortable to begin with, you get a lot more out of them as performers.
Oh, yes, absolutely. I think it's got to be fun at the end of the day, but you've got to feel, because you're putting yourself out there, and especially if it's something edgy like Vagina Monologues, you've got to feel confident that you're there together and everybody's supporting each other.
Just a little bit about being a performer. Do you think being a performer has helped you being a director, or vice versa?
I think being a performer has changed my life. And I don't say that lightly.
Yeah.
So joining the Operatic Society was probably the best thing I ever did. I have established lifelong friendships through it. And it has given me massive confidence to do all sorts of things. And I think it just gives you such confidence that spills over into the rest of your life.
Yeah.
And you know, for my job, teaching, they always say teachers are actors anyway. So without a shadow of a doubt, theatre changed my life. Absolutely.
Yay! I love to hear that, because that's exactly what Cherry Blossom's all about, and why I set it up. And you know, my mum, again, my inspiration behind it, because I have this mum who I call my little wallflower mother, because she's so like nervous and shy, and I got her into the theatre a couple of years ago, finally, after trying for years, and she's just like blossoming. It's amazing how much it's changed her in such a short space of time. And so that passion came through, and I thought, we've got to spread that, we've got to share that, we've got to, because it can be really daunting for people who want to get involved in the theatre. And not everybody, like you say, you're really confident, I'm really confident, but even for me, when I'd lost a lot of my confidence after having been out of the, you know, the circuit for a period of time, took me years to really get back to feeling like myself and throwing myself in, and it can be really scary to go into new groups as well.
But absolutely worth it.
Yes.
I think it's a great way to meet people. It's a great way of making friends.
Definitely. At any age as well. I've got this big thing, like, people, you know, I'm too old, and I'm like, oh no, you're only too old when you have died. That's like my thing.
Yes.
Surely you're only too old. And there's so many ways these days. Okay, so what are you currently working on, Lyn? And what's, I know obviously lockdown, but what's your project at the moment?
So we were supposed to be doing Shrek. I know. It was cast, we'd started rehearsing. It's a massive show. It's the biggest show I have ever done, ever.
Wow.
And massive amount of stuff around it. It's because normally it's, you know, you do the music, you do the choreography, you do the acting, you put it all together, you get the costumes, and that's it.
Bang. Yeah.
This show is not like that at all.
Such a
it looks like the cast are going to be the same, though, good. Which is good. And maybe we can get a couple more men, because we were struggling to get men. And
it means that now, everyone, Lyn needs men. Yeah, if you live around the Trowbridge, is it Trowbridge you're doing it? Yeah.
Yeah, Trowbridge.
The Trowbridge area. Send a message to Cherry Blossom and we'll send it over to Lyn.
Brilliant. Yeah, I do. I do need a couple more men. I work with a group over in Devizes that I have directed them, but I usually perform with them. And we're hoping that we're going to be able to do for December Carl Jenkins' Amadeus, which is, I know. We did his Hard Man a couple of years ago, which was amazing. And it's a great sing. So for me, just being able to get involved with that singing is great, and none of the pressure, just having to sing. Absolutely. Is lovely.
Because when I came and did the Vagina Monologues, I just finished directing and producing Panto at another local theatre that I'm part of, and one of the things that enticed me to the Vagina Monologues was that it was like a short run. There was a short rehearsal run, small cast, you know, not like all bells and whistles kind of show, stripped back. But I was going to obviously be able to be a performer or involved in some way. And it was a lovely way to sort of come down from the craziness of panto directing, you know, into something. And it was just beautiful. But then obviously we all got stopped.
I do try to do that. I do try to balance so that I'm not just directing all the time. I do try to be, I do a lot, I do backstage. I've prompted, I mean, I've done everything.
Yeah.
I've done lighting. The only thing I haven't done is sound. I haven't done the sound, but I've done everything else. And so I do try to do lots of different things just to keep it all fresh.
Yeah, so, yeah, absolutely. No, I agree. I'm interested in all aspects myself. And in fact, the first time I ever met you was dressing for 9 to 5.
Yes.
I came and did. I only could do one night because of my other commitments with another show I was doing. But I met you doing that. And next year, I'm going to be doing some stage managing, which I'm really excited about. So I like that balance too.
Yeah.
So finally, what message can you give to the Cherry Blossom viewers who want to get into the theatre in any way, but particularly from the directing point of view? What's your message? What's your advice?
So I would say learn, first of all, listen and watch. Then when you feel you're ready, put the feelers out, see if you can get involved in some way. I think it's really important to have a really broad view. So you need to know what happens backstage. You need to know all the elements that you're going to have to be involved with, lighting, sound, all of those things that you don't necessarily know about if you're just a performer. So finding out about all that other stuff is really important. And then when you feel ready, ask if you can.
Yeah.
Because most groups are very keen to support people who are wanting to dip their toe in directing. And most directors are keen to support people who want to do it.
Yeah.
So, but you have to ask. So be confident, go and speak to the committee or, you know, whoever, and just say that you're interested.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree as well, because you know, you might in your head be thinking, oh, I'd really like to do this, but and you haven't told anyone, but you're waiting for somebody to ask you. I think that's a really good point. You're like, they're not going to ask you if they don't know.
No.
You've got to tell them, or tell somebody and get that somebody to tell them and sow that seed. But yeah, great.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for coming on to the interview series at Cherry Blossom Arts and speaking to our viewers. We are every Tuesday at 7 o'clock bringing you stage managers, actors, teachers, dancers, you name it, people who are in the arts, who love the theatre, giving you a bit of insight and a bit of advice. So thank you for tuning in. We will see you next week, where we're interviewing a lovely lady called Wendy, who is a drama teacher, and she's going to give you a bit of insight into that. But from myself, Bexy, and the lovely Lyn, we bid you a lovely evening. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye-bye.